On April 28, 1990, 20-year-old Manfredus Ruiz got together with 3 of his nephews and one of their girlfriends for a weekend outing near their home in Arlington, Virginia. When they planned the excursion along the Potomac River, they had no idea how dangerous it might be.
It's a very deceptive river. There's some visible rapids, but the calm areas in the river are very deceptive for the fact that a couple feet underneath, there's a lot of undercurrents, and that's where the people get in trouble. They come up here and they figure it's nice and calm, and once they get down in there, the undercurrent takes them, and they just don't come back up.
We were jogging and singing Marine and Army songs. My uncle was having a very good time, but it was getting very hot. So we decided to cool down, to go down to the water.
Andres Gomez and his girlfriend Van led the way. Andres's young uncle, Manfredus, had never been down to the river before.
Manfredo told me that he doesn't know how to swim, so I just laughed. I said, of course your uncle knows how to swim. He used to live near a beach, remember? We started playing around, walking on the rocks and rock hopping.
The 5 of them had been hiking all day on trails along the river.
Fidel decided to dip his feet into the water because it was very hot that day. Everyone else went in too.
We just went in the water without thinking anything was going to happen. Joking around, putting our heads into the water and trying to see who could stay down there longest. My brother, Andre, with his girlfriend, was kind of far away from us.
We've been about 30, 45 minutes. It was getting late, and it was going to be a long walk back. I started walking through the rocks in the water, and it was no problem. Then my uncle asked me if he could walk there himself. I told him, yes, if I walk through it, why can't you walk through it? The water wasn't that deep. I thought it was playing at first. We all thought it was playing at first. He must have slipped or something. There must have been a hole. I told Van to jump in and try to save him. She's about the only one who knew how to swim. Maybe the rocks were too slippery. Whenever he tried to push himself up, he slipped down. She tried to grab him, but every time my uncle grabbed onto her back and kept pushing down, she just pushed my uncle away because she didn't want to drown herself. I jumped in, and when I went down, he was gone. What can I do? What am I going to do?
Hearing their desperate cries, 2 people on the far side of the river called to kayakers in the distance. Eventually, the call for help reached United States Park Police Officer Todd Ricks on patrol in the area.
One of the kayakers yelled to me that someone had fallen in the water and there's possible drowning.
Scooter 230.
At that point, I called the communications section.
Scooter 230. So I'm getting a report from a kayaker.
I knew that the Department of Natural Resources boat was in the river My main concern was that getting to a drowning victim in that river is mostly impossible.
Somebody yelled at us from the other side of the river that people on the Virginia side needed some help. So we paddled over there.
Chris Good and several other kayakers raced to help. The first to arrive was Jay Goldberg.
I pulled in and didn't see anything. I put the paddle down and pretty much just felt rock. He was right at the edge there of the river. And I know how the undercurrents are, and I figured the guy had been washed down and out.
They all knew that with each passing second, the chance of finding Manfredus alive was growing slimmer.
I had to do this. I mean, somebody's down there, you got to go get him. And I just kind of kept deliberate, consistent movements because I wanted to make sure I didn't do something stupid in the excitement of everything that would hurt me or somebody else. I found the place where it just dropped off. And I remember I came back up, got a good breath, and I was thinking, oh well, oh boy, here goes. I was basically lucky. About 6 feet down, and I swept my hand across and felt his hand and grabbed onto it and pulled him up.
When Manfredus was finally pulled from the water, he'd been under for nearly 5 minutes. He was not breathing, nor did he have a pulse. Kayaker Tenny Kimes, a home care nurse, immediately began CPR.
As a nurse, I knew the only hope, the only way to save him was to do CPR right then and there.
You do CPR? I don't, yeah, I do.
I thought it might be too late, but I knew if I did nothing, he would stay dead. And if I did CPR, he might come back. I could hear his relatives mourning already.
5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I felt kind of glad that there was somebody there to do CPR. I was like, good, go for it. Cheering him on, like, come on, come on.
It seemed like he had to bring up some water, so we rolled him on his side. And at that point, I was saying to myself, well, gee, I really hope he'll start breathing now, because he's got the pulse. Right then, I saw breathing movement, and then the next one was a little deeper, and pretty soon, there he was, kind of snoring away. I felt fantastic, but he hadn't regained consciousness, and I wanted him to open up his eyes and say, I'm okay. I was real scared that he had sustained brain damage, since I knew he'd been under the water for a long time.
Within 4 minutes, the Natural Resources police boat got to the scene with Officer John Carpenter on board.
The kayakers, if we're trained well enough to know that once a patient begins breathing on his own, to leave him alone. The important thing was that they initiated the CPR and the rescue operations promptly. He wouldn't have had any chance at all if it hadn't been for them.
Okay, let's get going.
Usually when a person drowns, they die rather quickly. Most people don't think about the danger. And if they could just see what we see, having to tell a victim's parents that their loved ones died drowned in the river, it would change their outlook.
Manfredus Ruiz was transported by boat, then helicopter, to a nearby hospital. After 3 days in the critical care unit, he was released. Manfredus suffered no brain damage and has fully recovered from his near drowning.
You never know what kind of situation you'll be in. Like that day, we thought we were going to have fun and nothing's going to happen. And it all came down to somebody knowing CPR.
We knew that the river was dangerous, and we just didn't follow the rules. I kept thinking, what if I had gotten my uncle out? I don't know much about CPR.
Yo pienso que si ellos no hubieran...
I think that if they had not arrived when they had, I would not have gotten out and I would have died. And thanks to them, everything turned out fine.
I have to thank them from the bottom of my heart. They saved his life.
Recently, Manfredus and his family got the chance to meet his rescuers for the first time.
He is lucky to be alive. It worked. I mean, I brought him up, but until they did CPR, that's when his life came back.
I was amazed by the teamwork of the whole thing. It just flowed into place. I think everybody should take CPR. It's an excellent skill to have, and it can really save lives, as I found out. It's a miracle how it can work.